Good morning, it's Friday, and today's a busy day. Last 2 days I've been pretty much sourcing for most of it, so I haven't listed a whole lot. I did about 10 each day. So I don't know if you can see that. All this over here, this down here, and all this going all the way back. All that needs to get cleaned and listed. Try to get as much done today as I can. But it'll probably bleed into the weekend a little bit. So yeah, quite a bit to do. Plus I still have things to bag down here. Yeah, so that's my Friday. Plus I wanted, my promoted listings experiment ended yesterday. So I'm going to try to run the numbers and see if anything changed. See if I can take any info from that and make a decision for January. Anyway, I will be back in just a second with yesterday's numbers. It wasn't too bad. I think we did about almost 500 in sales. So I will get you the details here in a second. All right, the numbers are in for yesterday. Yesterday we sold $458 in sales, so not too bad. Obviously, with Q4, I'd like them to be a little bit higher, but I'll take that. We sold 15 games and 7 game pieces. Yeah, and we didn't really have any big sales. Nothing was over $30. I mean, we sold a couple orders had multiple games, but even those were I think it was just a couple that ordered 2 games a piece. So, yeah, I mean, about average. It's about average. So, I don't really have much more to say about yesterday. I got 10 listings done, again, because sourcing days I tend to get less listed. So, today is a big listing day. I already showed you what I got. And then, right now, I'm going to kind of compile some numbers from that experiment, the week-long experiment with promoted listings. I'll put together my numbers for that, and I will see you in a second. All right. Bear with me, because I had to kind of work through this to figure out exactly what I was pulling up and what I was looking at and what my take on it is. So I just looked at my experiment week, which was Friday through Thursday, ending yesterday, Thursday, and I compared that to the week before that, Friday to Thursday. And I wanted to kind of keep it just that because I figured that the last 2 weeks should be about the same in terms of people buying. So anyway, I just realized that I did not go over what my experiment was. So if you hadn't seen my previous video, for 1 week I decided to cut my promoted listings in half. I had been promoting games, complete games, at 10% and game pieces at 5%. And I decided to go 1 full week, cutting those in half and seeing what the results were. And the reason I did this is because I wanted to know, going into the policy change in January, where they start attributing basically every sale to promoted listings. I wanted to see if I could possibly save any money on promoted listings going into that. And yeah, so that was my experiment. Back to the numbers. To start off with, the pretty much obvious thing that I noticed was in the impressions. We dropped significantly in impressions, overall impressions. The previous week we had 1,443,000 impressions, and the experiment week we dropped to 1,276,000. So a definite drop. And when that breaks down between the organic and promoted, that's where you can really see where the promoted listings accounted for that drop. The previous week, The breakdown was 566 versus 877 promoted. And the experiment week, it was organic 586, so roughly the same. But the promoted listings, the impressions dropped to 690. So almost 200,000 impressions less, simply because we dropped our promoted listing percentage. And yeah, so that was, I kind of figured that's how it would be. But you know, but what does that all mean? I talked about in a previous video, like, what does that mean for my bottom line? Because even if I don't get all the impressions, am I making more? Are we making more sales? Like, that, the impressions are great, but it doesn't tell the whole story. So I also looked at how many games we sold, how many game pieces we sold between the 2 weeks, and what the profit per game and profit per game piece was. And that's when I really kind of saw what those 200,000 impressions did for us. And let's start off with the games. So the previous week games, we sold 17 games per day that week. And during the experiment week, we actually dropped down to 16 games per day. And my listing was pretty much consistent throughout both of those. So it wasn't anything that I was doing outside of just, I think, one less sale per day because of those 200,000 fewer impressions, to be honest. And what actually really stood out to me was that our profit actually went down. I was expecting the profit to go up because we were paying less in promoted listing fees, but we actually dropped by 60 cents per game. We were at 10.65 the previous week, and then we dropped to 10.05 during the experiment week. So that was a little surprising to me. It tells me that because we dropped in profit per game and we dropped in games per day, tells me that extra 5% promoted listing is probably worth it when it comes to games. I'm not seeing any way around it. I know 1 game per day and 60 cents per game doesn't seem like much, but when you are looking at the the full picture, how many games we sell in a month, how many games we sell in a year, and that's when that little tiny amount each day in each game really starts to add up. So that was kind of eye-opening. I did not expect that, to be honest. The game pieces, however, they told a completely different story. The previous week, we sold 7 game pieces per day, and the experiment week, we went up to 8 game pieces per day. I'm not really sure why. And also the profit per game piece went up. So the previous week, we were at almost exactly $1 profit per game piece, and the experiment week, we not only sold 1 extra game piece per day, but we also bumped it up to $1.15 profit per piece. And again, we weren't doing anything different with game pieces, so I'm not entirely sure why that happened, but it does tell me that maybe for game pieces, I was doing game pieces at 5%. I dropped them to 2% for the experiment week, and I might just keep them at 2%. If I can make an extra 15 cents per piece, I mean, because those are such low value, that 15 cents can really add up. And if it's not affecting how many game pieces we're selling, then I don't see a reason to pay more per game piece that we're promoting. So I'll probably actually leave that at 2 for the time being. And unless I see some drastic negative effects, I don't see a point to bump that back up to 5. So yeah, so that is the results of my experiment. Here in a little bit, I'm actually going to bump up our games back up to 10% because I want to have a good weekend, and this information tells me that I need to do that. But the game pieces, I'm leaving those at 5%. So yeah, I hope all that information is worthwhile to you. Obviously, do your own experiments, look at your own numbers. just because this is what I got doesn't mean this is what you're going to get. And obviously so many factors go into it, the categories, the how many listings you're putting up, and what the quality of listings you're putting up, and all those things factor in it. We have our board game business is pretty consistent, so it's much easier to run these types of experiments. But even that, I mean, it was only a week. I did 1 week, and for anyone out there who's familiar with statistics, it wasn't that large of a sample size. So obviously, the longer you run your experiment, the more information you can gather, and maybe get a little bit more accurate, or at least closer to accurate information. But for me, this was enough to tell me pretty much what I should do for right now. So yeah. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Is this what you expected? Are you now going to go out and see if you can run some experiments on your store and see if you get the same results? See if you can maybe save a little on promoted listings. Yeah, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Anyway, that's all I have for today. It is Friday. I'm going to get as much done as I can, and then I'm going to relax. For tonight, I've got a lot of stuff going on this weekend. Some kid stuff, friend stuff, family stuff. But I'm still hoping to get some work done, but it'd be nice to just kind of relax this weekend. So I hope you all do the same, especially going into holiday week. And like, subscribe, check my wife out on Facebook, Books and Boards, and I will see you tomorrow. It's